She walked into his office and said, "I'm carrying your child." He was stunned. "Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into today's story. Imagine walking into a room to make an announcement that would change your life, and the life of someone you never thought you'd meet. Our story today begins with a shocking statement, "I'm carrying your child." What happens next? Let's find out. As Liam sat back down behind his desk, the shock of her words still lingered in the air. Emily stood across from him, her eyes avoiding his, her fingers nervously twisting the hem of her jacket. There was an awkward silence between them, but it wasn't just the silence of strangers, it was the silence of two people facing a reality neither of them could have predicted. "So, what now?" Liam finally asked, his voice low, almost unsure. Emily glanced up at him, then looked away again. "I don't know," she admitted quietly. "I just didn't know who else to turn to. I've been trying to figure this out on my own, but I can't." She paused, taking a breath as though gathering her courage. "I need your help. I need somewhere to stay. And I need support." Liam studied her for a moment, his mind still racing. He was a man who dealt with data, strategy, and technology, not unexpected visits like this. He was used to being in control, but in this moment, he was completely lost. "Support," he repeated, his voice rough with confusion. "You don't even know me." Emily's eyes met his for a brief moment before she looked down again. "I don't," she agreed. "But I know you can help me. You're Liam Parker, aren't you? The CEO of Parker Technologies. You've built an empire from nothing. You know what it's like to have everything fall apart." Her words hit him harder than he expected. He was used to being admired for his success, but hearing it from her, hearing it in the context of her situation, made him feel a strange sense of guilt. "I built my empire, yes," he said slowly, trying to regain control of the conversation. "But that doesn't mean I can fix every problem. Especially this." Emily took a step forward, her face a mixture of frustration and desperation. "I don't expect you to fix everything," she said, her voice trembling now. "I just need a chance. A chance to make sure my baby has a future. A chance to get back on my feet." Liam's mind raced, thinking about all the reasons he should say no. He had his own life to worry about. He didn't need this complication. But then he thought about the people in his life who had helped him when he was at his lowest. The people who believed in him when he hadn't believed in himself. Could he really turn his back on someone who needed help so desperately? He looked at Emily, her tired eyes filled with a mix of fear and hope. And suddenly, he knew he couldn't. "All right," Liam said, his voice steady but with a trace of reluctance. "I'll help. But you need to understand, this won't be easy. We'll have to figure out a way to make this work without it affecting my business or my reputation. Do you understand?" Emily nodded quickly, relief flooding her face. "Yes," she said, her voice cracking. "I understand. Thank you. You won't regret this." Liam didn't respond immediately. He sat back in his chair, staring at her, trying to process everything. This wasn't the kind of thing he was used to. But there was something about her, something in the way she carried herself, the way she asked for help without demanding anything, that made him feel like he was doing the right thing. After a long pause, he finally spoke again. "I need you to be honest with me from now on. No more surprises, all right? You tell me everything, and we figure this out together. No secrets. Understood?" Emily's eyes widened, then she nodded again. "Understood." She took a deep breath, as though the weight of her emotions had finally begun to lift. "Thank you," she whispered again, this time with more conviction. Liam studied her for a moment longer, then looked down at his desk, his thoughts swirling. He had made the decision to help her, but what did that mean for his own life? He had no idea. But one thing was clear, this was going to change everything. The next few days were a blur of decisions and preparations. Liam arranged for Emily to stay in one of his properties, a small apartment not far from his office. It wasn't luxurious, but it would do for now. He also arranged for a lawyer to help her with any legal matters regarding her pregnancy, and a financial advisor to help her with her future. As Emily settled into her new life, she began to take small steps toward building a future for herself and her child. But every day, she couldn't shake the feeling that her life was spiraling in directions she had never anticipated. And with each passing day, Liam's presence in her life became more and more undeniable. But he was still the CEO, and she was just the girl who had walked into his office with nothing but a claim. Could their lives ever truly align? Was it possible for a man like Liam to fall for someone like her? Only time would tell. As the days passed, Emily began to settle into her new life. The apartment Liam had arranged for her was small but cozy, a stark contrast to the high-rise penthouse she had seen him retreat to. It wasn't much, but it was hers for now, and it gave her a sense of security that she hadn't felt in months. Despite the uncertainty of her situation, there was a small glimmer of hope growing inside her. Liam had kept his word, offering support in ways she hadn't expected. His lawyer had helped her sort through legal matters regarding her pregnancy, and his financial advisor had set up a plan for her to start rebuilding her life. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. One evening, after a long day of running errands and adjusting to her new routine, Emily sat down to eat a simple meal in her apartment. The soft hum of the city outside filtered through the windows, and for a moment, she let herself imagine a future that wasn't so uncertain. She had dreams of raising her child in a safe, loving environment, of eventually opening her own art studio, of creating a life that was hers to build. But those dreams seemed far away, distant, almost impossible to reach. As Emily stared out the window, she couldn't help but think of Liam. He had been kind to her, more kind than she ever expected. But there was still something about him that felt distant, like he was holding back. It was as though he had helped her out of a sense of duty, not because he cared. She tried to push those thoughts away. She couldn't afford to think like that. Not now. Not when she was still trying to get back on her feet. A soft knock on the door pulled her out of her thoughts. She stood up quickly, surprised to find Liam standing in the doorway when she opened it. He looked slightly different today, more relaxed, less formal than she had ever seen him before. "I thought I'd drop by and check on you," he said, his voice warmer than usual. Emily stepped aside to let him in, feeling a strange mix of relief and confusion. Why was he here? "I'm doing fine," she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "Just getting used to things." Liam glanced around the small apartment, his eyes landing on the simple furniture and the stack of art supplies she had placed on the table. "It's not much," she said quickly, feeling self-conscious. "But it's a start." Liam nodded, a faint smile tugging at the corner of his lips. "It's more than I had when I started," he said. "I had to build everything from scratch." Emily's eyes widened in surprise. She hadn't expected him to open up like this. "I didn't know," she said softly. "I thought everything just came easy for you." He looked at her for a long moment before shaking his head. "Nothing ever comes easy," he replied, his voice tinged with a hint of something she couldn't quite place. "You just have to fight for it." Emily didn't know what to say to that. She had heard Liam talk about business deals and technology before, but hearing him speak about his past, about the struggles he faced, made him seem more human, more real. She had always seen him as untouchable, someone far beyond her reach. But now, in this moment, he seemed like just another person, flawed, struggling, and trying to make his way through life. She didn't know why, but the thought comforted her. "You've been through a lot, haven't you?" she asked quietly. Liam didn't answer right away. Instead, he took a step closer to her, his gaze softening. "Yeah," he said after a moment. "But I've learned a lot along the way." He paused, as if debating whether to say more, but then turned to look out the window. I used to think that success was all about the money, the power, he continued. But now, I realize it's more about the people you have around you. The ones who help you when you're at your lowest. Emily swallowed, her heart pounding in her chest. She had never imagined Liam would talk about things like this, about the struggles he faced, the things that shaped him. It felt real. Like for once, they were on the same level. She opened her mouth to speak, but before she could say anything, he turned to her with a more serious expression. I need to be honest with you, he said. I didn't help you out of obligation. I did it because I see something in you. Something I didn't expect to find. Emily's breath caught in her throat, her eyes widening. What do you mean? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. Liam hesitated for a moment before replying. I see someone who's strong, someone who doesn't give up easily. And I admire that. He looked down at the floor for a second, then back at her. I've been wanting to help someone like you for a long time. Someone who knows what it means to struggle and still keep going. Emily was silent for a long moment, trying to process what he had just said. She had never imagined Liam thinking of her like that. She had always felt like an outsider in his world, someone who didn't belong. But now things felt different. She didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in a long while, she felt like maybe, just maybe, there was a chance for something more. She took a deep breath, her heart still racing. Thank you, she whispered. For everything. Liam smiled at her, the warmth in his eyes making her stomach flip. You're welcome, he said softly. You've got a lot of potential, Emily. Don't forget that. As he left the apartment that evening, Emily felt a strange sense of hope rise within her. Liam Parker, the man she thought was just a distant figure in her life, had turned out to be someone who understood her more than she had ever realized. And in that moment, she knew that things were about to change, for both of them. The following week, Emily found herself falling into a new routine, one she never could have imagined before. Despite the challenges, she started feeling a sense of belonging. The apartment felt more like home with each passing day, and she could finally breathe again, knowing that she had a chance to rebuild her life. Liam's words still echoed in her mind, how he admired her strength, how he saw potential in her, and they kept her going, even when doubt crept in. She focused on her art, trying to set her mind at ease by sketching whenever she had a quiet moment. There was something about putting pencil to paper that made her feel like herself again, even in the midst of everything else. One evening, as she was finishing up a sketch of a cityscape, she received a call from Liam. She hesitated for a moment before picking up. Hey, it's Liam, he said, his voice warm as always. I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time. Emily smiled, feeling a little flutter in her chest. No, not at all. What's up? I wanted to invite you to a charity gala this weekend, Liam said. It's important for my company, and I'd really like you to come. As my guest. Emily's heart skipped a beat. A gala? She had never imagined herself in such an environment, let alone as Liam Parker's guest. A gala, she repeated, her voice betraying her nervousness. I'm not exactly, well, I don't exactly fit in at those things. Liam laughed softly. Trust me, you'll be fine. It's a chance to dress up, enjoy some time out, and meet a few people. I think you'll have a good time. He paused for a moment before adding, besides, I promised you that I would help you get back on your feet, didn't I? Emily felt a strange mix of excitement and anxiety. She had no idea what to expect, but she also realized that this might be an opportunity to step into a world she had never dreamed of being part of. She agreed, though her mind was already racing with questions about what to wear, how to act, and whether she'd truly belong in Liam's world. The night of the gala arrived, and Emily found herself standing in front of a full-length mirror, unsure of what to wear. She had borrowed a simple black dress, one she had found on sale, but it was still something she never would have imagined wearing just a few weeks ago. She wasn't sure if it was the dress or the occasion itself that made her feel so out of place. The thought of walking into a room full of high-profile people made her stomach turn. But she knew this was a step forward, and she couldn't turn back now. When she arrived at the venue, Liam was already there, looking every bit the CEO, his sharp suit and commanding presence drawing the eyes of everyone in the room. He spotted her almost immediately and walked over with a warm smile. "You look amazing," he said, his eyes lingering on her for a moment longer than necessary. Emily blushed, feeling the compliment settle in her chest like a weight she wasn't used to. "Thank you," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "I'm not used to this kind of thing." Liam chuckled, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "Don't worry. Just follow my lead, and we'll get through it." The evening unfolded in a whirlwind of conversations, laughter, and clinking glasses. Emily found herself in a mix of awe and discomfort as she navigated the event, trying to fit in with people who seemed so far removed from her everyday life. But Liam was there by her side, introducing her to people and guiding her through the social maze. As the night went on, Emily began to loosen up. She could feel herself gaining confidence with each passing minute, especially when Liam was close by, offering reassuring words whenever she felt out of place. It wasn't long before Emily realized that Liam wasn't just helping her through the event for the sake of business, he genuinely cared. He wasn't just the cold, calculated businessman she had first imagined. There was warmth in the way he spoke to her, in the way he looked out for her, and in the way he made her feel like she mattered. At one point during the evening, they found themselves standing on the balcony, looking out over the city lights. "I didn't expect this," Emily said, her voice quiet. "I didn't expect any of this." Liam glanced at her, a soft smile on his lips. "Sometimes, life has a way of surprising us," he said. "But you've come a long way already, Emily." She turned to him, her heart suddenly beating faster. "I don't know what I would have done without you," she admitted, her voice shaky. Liam's gaze softened, and for a moment, there was a vulnerability in his eyes that she hadn't seen before. "You've got a lot of strength inside of you," he said. "I just helped you find it." Emily didn't know what to say to that. She was overwhelmed, feeling a mixture of gratitude and something else, something deeper that she wasn't ready to name yet. The night continued, but as it did, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that this was the beginning of something more than just a simple act of kindness from Liam. Maybe it was the start of something that could change both of their lives forever. As the gala came to a close, Liam turned to her, his smile never fading. "I'm glad you came tonight," he said. "I think we both needed it." Emily nodded, her thoughts swirling with everything that had happened. She didn't know where this journey would take her, but for the first time in a long time, she felt hopeful about the future. And maybe, just maybe, Liam Parker had just become a part of that future. The following week, Emily's life seemed to be falling into place in ways she had never imagined. She spent her days focusing on her art and taking small steps toward the future she had dreamed of for so long. Liam continued to offer his support, though he remained a somewhat distant figure in her life. They spoke regularly, and he kept his promise to help her with her financial and legal matters, but something was starting to shift. Emily couldn't deny that her feelings for him were changing. The more she got to know him, the more she saw how much depth there was to the man behind the business persona. He was not just the cold, calculating CEO she had initially thought him to be, there was a kindness in him, a gentleness that only seemed to show when it was just the two of them. One evening, as Emily was cleaning up after a quiet dinner, her phone buzzed with a text from Liam. It was simple, just a time and place, * dinner tomorrow? I'd like to talk. * her heart skipped a beat as she read it. What did he want to talk about? She had no idea, but the curiosity gnawed at her all evening. The next day, she dressed carefully, not wanting to overthink the outfit but still wanting to make a good impression. When she arrived at the restaurant, a quiet, intimate place in the heart of the city, Liam was already there, waiting for her at a table by the window. His expression was unreadable as she approached, and for a moment, she hesitated. But then he stood up, offering her a warm smile, and the nervousness she had been feeling seemed to melt away. "You look beautiful," he said softly, pulling out a chair for her. Emily sat down, still a little unsure of what was going on. The night had an air of quiet anticipation, and she couldn't help but wonder if Liam had something important to say. As they settled into their meal, the conversation started off light. They spoke about everything and nothing, her art, his work, their thoughts on the future. Yet, there was an undercurrent of tension between them, as though both of them were waiting for something to be said. After a few moments of small talk, Liam finally set down his glass of wine and looked at her, his expression serious. "Emily," he began, his voice steady, "I've been thinking a lot about us lately." The words hit her like a jolt. Us? What did he mean by that? Her heart raced as she waited for him to continue. He seemed to hesitate, his gaze briefly flickering away before returning to meet hers. "I know our situation started differently," he said slowly, as though choosing each word carefully. "You came to me for help, and I gave it. But I've come to realize that it's not just about helping you. It's about something more." Emily swallowed, her throat dry. Was he about to say what she thought he was? Was he finally acknowledging the feelings that had been slowly building between them? She opened her mouth to speak but stopped herself, unsure of what to say. Liam leaned forward, his eyes soft but intense. "What I'm trying to say is," he continued, "I've been pushing away my feelings for a while now, trying to convince myself that this was just about business, just about helping someone in need." He took a deep breath, his fingers brushing against the table nervously. "But it's more than that. I care about you, Emily. More than I ever expected to. And I can't ignore that anymore." Emily's heart slammed against her chest. She wasn't sure if she should be relieved or if she should run out of the room. The man who had always seemed so confident, so in control, was now laying bare his vulnerability in front of her. "Liam," she whispered, her voice trembling slightly, "I don't know what to say." He reached across the table, gently taking her hand in his touch warm and steady. "You don't have to say anything right now," he replied softly. "I just needed to be honest with you. This isn't just about helping you anymore, it's about us, and I want to see where this can go." The weight of his words sank in, and Emily could feel the overwhelming rush of emotions within her. She had spent so much time convincing herself that she didn't belong in this world, that she wasn't worthy of someone like Liam. But now, hearing him speak so openly, she realized just how wrong she had been. She had been afraid to believe in herself, afraid to trust in the possibility of love. But now, in this moment, something had shifted. She squeezed his hand, her voice barely above a whisper. "I care about you too, Liam. I didn't think I could feel this way, but I do." Liam's face lit up with a smile, and Emily couldn't help but feel a sense of relief wash over her. It was a small moment, but it was everything. She had never expected this to happen, never imagined that her life would change so dramatically in such a short time. But here she was, sitting across from a man who had once been a stranger, now someone she could see a future with. The rest of the evening passed in a quiet, contented silence. They didn't need to say much more. The connection between them was stronger than any words could express. As they finished their meal and stepped outside into the cool night air, Liam placed his hand on the small of her back, guiding her gently toward the car. For the first time in a long time, Emily felt like she was exactly where she was meant to be. The weeks that followed felt like a whirlwind. Emily had slowly begun to adjust to her new life, but the changes were not without their challenges. She found herself spending more time with Liam, and although their relationship had started as something she never could have expected, it was becoming something she couldn't deny. Liam had kept his distance emotionally, despite the warmth he showed in their quiet moments together. He seemed to struggle with allowing himself to feel more than the connection they shared on the surface. Emily, on the other hand, was torn. She knew that she was starting to fall for him, but every time she tried to get closer, she felt the invisible wall he had built between them. He was always kind, always helpful, but never fully vulnerable. The turning point came one night when Liam invited her to a small dinner at one of his favorite restaurants. It was a quiet place, intimate but not extravagant, and when Emily arrived, she was surprised to see him waiting for her at a corner table. He was dressed casually, a slight smile on his face, but there was something in his eyes that made her nervous. "You look beautiful tonight," he said, his voice soft but sincere, making her heart flutter in a way she wasn't prepared for. "Thank you," she replied, a slight blush creeping across her cheeks as she took her seat. The conversation flowed naturally at first, much like it always did when it was just the two of them. They talked about her art, about his company, about their hopes for the future, but there was a tension in the air tonight that wasn't there before. As dinner progressed, Liam's usual guarded demeanor seemed to soften just a little. He seemed more at ease, less like he was holding something back. Emily felt a glimmer of hope that perhaps this was the night things would change. After the main course was finished and they sipped their wine, Liam set his glass down and looked at her, his expression serious. "Emily," he began, his voice low, "I've been thinking a lot about us. About everything." Emily felt her stomach twist nervously. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I've been trying to keep things simple," he continued, avoiding her gaze for a moment. "But the truth is, I'm not good at simple. I've spent my whole life building my company, making decisions, and being in control. But with you, I don't want to just control things anymore. I don't want to hold back." Emily's heart began to race. This was the moment she had been waiting for, the moment where everything could change. She held her breath, unsure of what he was going to say next. "I care about you more than I've let myself admit," Liam confessed, his eyes meeting hers. "I've tried to keep my distance, thinking it was for the best. But every day I spend with you, I realize that I don't want to push you away. I want to be with you, Emily." The words hung in the air between them, and for a moment, Emily couldn't speak. The walls that Liam had so carefully built around himself were coming down, and she was finally seeing the man behind the cold, calculating businessman. She felt an overwhelming rush of emotions, a mixture of relief, joy, and a deep sense of vulnerability. "I've been scared," he continued, his voice cracking slightly, "scared that if I let myself care too much, it would ruin everything. But I can't keep pretending I don't feel what I feel. I care about you, and I want to see where this can go. I want you in my life, not just because of the baby, but because of you." Emily's breath caught in her throat as the truth of his words settled in. It wasn't just about helping her anymore, it was about something real, something genuine between the two of them. For the first time, she saw him for who he truly was, not just a businessman or a man who had helped her out of pity, but someone who had feelings, someone who was willing to take a chance on love. "I've been afraid too," she finally said, her voice barely a whisper. "Afraid to believe that something like this could really happen, afraid to hope. But I care about you too, Liam. I care more than I ever thought I could." A smile spread across Liam's face, and it was the first time she had seen him look so open, so unguarded. "I'm glad," he said softly. "Because I've been thinking, we deserve to give this a real chance. Together." Emily nodded, her heart swelling with emotion. She had come so far since the day she first walked into his office, desperate and alone. Now, she was sitting here with Liam, realizing that the life she had once dreamed of might be within reach. It wasn't going to be easy. There were still challenges ahead. But for the first time in a long time, Emily felt like she had someone by her side, someone who truly cared about her. As they finished their meal and stepped outside into the crisp night air, Liam took her hand in his, and for the first time, she felt the certainty that things were about to change. This wasn't just a new chapter in her life, it was the beginning of a story she had never imagined. A story where love, trust, and a future with Liam Parker were finally within her grasp. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of emotions, decisions, and changes. Emily and Liam found themselves navigating a new dynamic in their relationship, one that had shifted from a business arrangement to something much deeper. Every moment with him felt like an unraveling of the person she thought she knew, and in many ways, she felt like she was discovering a new Liam, one who was capable of kindness, vulnerability, and love. Despite their closeness, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that there was still something Liam wasn't fully sharing with her, a part of his past or his feelings that he was keeping hidden. She had seen glimpses of his vulnerability during their late-night conversations, but he had always pulled back when things got too personal, as if afraid to let anyone get too close. One evening, after a quiet dinner together, Liam invited her to go for a walk in the park. The crisp air and the glow of the streetlight set a peaceful tone, but the tension between them was palpable. They strolled in silence for a while, enjoying the calm of the night, but Emily could feel the weight of the unspoken words hanging between them. "Liam," she finally said, her voice gentle but firm, "is there something you're not telling me?" He stopped walking, his gaze falling to the ground for a moment. When he looked up at her, there was a conflicted look in his eyes. "What do you mean?" he asked, his voice quiet, almost hesitant. Emily met his gaze, not backing down. "I know you care about me, but there's something you're holding back. I can see it in the way you pull away sometimes. You're afraid to let me in fully, and I want to understand why." Liam looked at her for a long moment, and for the first time, she saw him struggle with something inside himself. He took a deep breath, his shoulders tense, and began to speak. "I've been carrying a lot of baggage for a long time," he admitted, his voice low. "I've built my life on control, on making sure nothing gets in the way of my success, my goals. But the more I get to know you, the more I realize that I've been living in a cage of my own making. I've always been afraid that if I let myself feel too much, everything would fall apart. I couldn't afford to let anyone in." Emily listened intently, her heart aching for him. She had known there was more to his story, but hearing it from him, seeing the pain in his eyes, made her understand just how much he had been holding inside. "Liam," she said softly, "you don't have to do everything on your own. I'm here for you, just like you've been here for me." He shook his head, a small, self-deprecating smile tugging at his lips. "It's not that easy," he said, his voice tinged with frustration. "I've built this empire, this life, and I've done it all by myself. I don't know how to ask for help, how to lean on someone. And the idea of losing control terrifies me." Emily took a step closer to him, her heart swelling with understanding. "Liam, I'm not here to take control of your life. I just want to be by your side. You don't have to carry the weight of the world alone anymore." She reached out, gently taking his hand in hers. He looked at their hands, his thumb lightly brushing over her skin, and for a moment, Emily saw the walls he had built around himself begin to crack. "You're right," he said softly, his voice filled with a quiet vulnerability. "I've been afraid of what could happen if I let myself care too much. But with you, I don't feel afraid anymore. I feel like maybe it's time to let go of the fear and just be with you." Emily's heart skipped a beat as his words sank in. This was the moment she had been waiting for, the moment where everything could change. She had never imagined that someone like Liam could be this open, this honest with her, and in that moment, she knew that their relationship had reached a new level of intimacy. She squeezed his hand, a soft smile forming on her lips. "I'm here, Liam," she said quietly. "And I'm not going anywhere." The weight of his fears seemed to lift as he looked at her, the intensity in his eyes replaced by a sense of relief. "Thank you," he whispered. "I've been holding on to this for so long, but I think I'm ready to let it go." They stood there, in the quiet of the park, their hands still intertwined, a sense of peace settling between them. For the first time in a long time, Emily felt like she truly understood him. Liam was no longer just the man who had helped her, he was the man she was learning to love, the man who was learning to love her in return. As they continued walking, side by side, the future felt less uncertain. There were still challenges ahead, but Emily knew that as long as they faced them together, they could overcome anything. The trust between them had deepened, and the bond they shared was stronger than ever. In that moment, everything seemed possible. Emily had found her way back to herself, and with Liam by her side, she knew that she was ready to face whatever came next. The following weeks brought a sense of calm that Emily had never known before. With every passing day, her connection with Liam deepened, and they both found themselves more open with each other than they had ever been before. The walls they had built around themselves slowly crumbled, replaced by trust, understanding, and a quiet but undeniable love. They spent their time exploring the city, attending gallery openings, and sharing small moments of joy. Liam had taken Emily to see a show she had always wanted to visit, and in the middle of a crowded theater, she had realized something. She wasn't just living for herself anymore. She was living for something more, something that was slowly growing between them, a shared future. But even as everything seemed to be falling into place, a part of Emily couldn't shake the fear of the unknown. She knew she was falling for Liam in ways that felt too big to ignore, and she had no idea where this journey would lead. Would he always be as closed off as he had been in the past, or was he truly ready to let go of his fears and embrace a future with her? The answer came sooner than she expected. One evening, Liam invited her to dinner at his penthouse, a place she had only visited a few times before. The view from his windows was breathtaking, but tonight, there was something different in the air. Liam seemed a little more tense than usual, and Emily couldn't help but wonder what was on his mind. When she arrived, she found him standing by the window, looking out over the city. There was a quiet intensity in his posture, a stark contrast to the relaxed man she had come to know. "Liam," she asked, her voice hesitant. He turned to face her, a soft smile forming on his lips. "Hey," he said, his voice low. "I've been thinking." Emily walked toward him, concern creasing her brow. "About what?" "About us," Liam said, his eyes meeting hers with an intensity that made her heart race. "I've been holding back for so long, and I realize that it's time for me to stop being afraid. It's time to let go of the past and fully embrace the future." Emily's heart skipped a beat. "What are you saying?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Liam took a deep breath, stepping closer to her, his gaze softening. "I'm saying that I love you, Emily. I've loved you for a while now, and I don't want to keep pretending that I'm not ready for this. I want to build a life with you, not just for the baby, but for us. I want us to be a family." The words hung in the air, heavy with the promise of something more. Emily's eyes filled with tears as she processed what he had just said. She had never imagined hearing him speak so openly, so honestly. "Liam," she whispered, her voice shaking. "I love you too. I've been so scared, but now I know. I know I'm ready for this. I want to be with you, all in. I want our future together." Liam smiled, his eyes lighting up with a mixture of relief and happiness. He reached out, gently cupping her face in his hands, and for a moment, everything else faded away. The noise of the world outside, the doubts they had carried, it all disappeared in the quiet certainty of the moment. "We're going to make it work, Emily," Liam said softly. "Together." The night ended with soft smiles and quiet promises. They knew that their journey ahead wouldn't be without challenges, but they were no longer afraid of them. They were no longer two people who had come together by chance, they were a couple, a family, and that was all that mattered. Emily's heart felt full as she walked out of Liam's penthouse that night, her hand gently holding his, the weight of her fears finally lifted. She had never been more certain of anything in her life. As they stood on the balcony, looking out over the city, Emily realized that she had found her place in the world, not just in Liam's life, but in her own. She was no longer a girl searching for a way out, she was a woman ready to step into her future, hand in hand with the man she loved. The future was uncertain, yes, but with Liam by her side, Emily knew that they could face whatever came their way. The next chapter of their story was just beginning, and for the first time, she couldn't wait to see what it held. The following months were a blur of joy, challenges, and new beginnings. Emily and Liam continued to build their life together, with each day bringing them closer as they navigated the complexities of parenthood, work, and their growing love for one another. Emily's art flourished as she opened her own small gallery, something she had always dreamed of but never thought was possible. With Liam's support, she found the courage to take that step, and the success of her gallery became a testament to her talent and determination. Liam, on the other hand, continued to run his business, but with a newfound sense of balance. He was no longer the man who lived only for success and power. He was the man who cherished his time with Emily and their growing family. He had learned that true success was not measured by wealth or status, but by the relationships and love he had in his life. One afternoon, as they sat together in the park, Liam looked at Emily with a soft smile, his eyes full of affection. "I never thought I would be here," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "I never thought I would have a family like this." Emily's heart swelled with love as she looked at him, knowing that the man she had once seen as a distant, untouchable figure had become someone she could never imagine living without. "I never thought I would have a future like this," she replied, her voice soft but full of conviction. "But I'm so glad I do." Their lives were no longer filled with uncertainty. They had faced their fears, their doubts, and their pasts, and had come out stronger on the other side. They had built a life based on trust, love, and mutual respect. As the years went by, they welcomed their child into the world, and together, they created a family that was filled with laughter, love, and memories. Emily often found herself reflecting on the journey that had brought her to this point, the journey that started with a simple act of kindness, a $10 bill, and a man who had once been a stranger. She had never imagined that her life would take such a turn, that she would find herself in a place of happiness and contentment. But here she was, surrounded by the love of the man who had helped her when she had nothing, and a child who was the living proof of their love. One evening, as they sat in their living room, Emily looked at Liam and their child, feeling a deep sense of gratitude for everything they had built together. "We've come a long way," she said, her voice full of wonder. "We really have," Liam agreed, his arm wrapped around her. "And I wouldn't change a thing." As they sat there, in the quiet comfort of their home, Emily knew that their story was far from over. It was a story that would continue to unfold, one filled with love, challenges, and the unwavering belief that together, they could face anything. And as the years passed, they would continue to grow, to learn, and to love in ways they never thought possible. Emily had found her place in the world, not just in Liam's life, but in her own. She had become the woman she had always dreamed of being, and it was all thanks to the unexpected twist of fate that had brought her to Liam, the man who had changed her life forever. Their journey was far from perfect, but it was theirs, and that was all that mattered. Together, they had created a future filled with hope, love, and the promise of many more chapters to come. And so, their story continued, a beautiful tale of love, redemption, and the belief that sometimes, the greatest things in life come from the most unexpected beginnings. In this captivating tale of love and self-discovery, our characters embark on a journey that mirrors the allure of classic millionaire stories, where unexpected connections change lives. Liam, a successful yet emotionally distant millionaire, finds himself entangled in a heartfelt story that challenges his views on wealth, success, and love. Emily, a struggling woman, steps into his world, initially seeking help, but their relationship gradually transforms into something much deeper than either could have imagined. As their paths cross, the story unfolds, blending themes of vulnerability, trust, and emotional growth, hallmarks of the most unforgettable millionaire stories. From a chance encounter that leads to an unexpected romance to the emotional and personal challenges they face together, their relationship becomes a beautiful reminder that love often comes when we least expect it. If you enjoy heartwarming millionaire stories where characters evolve beyond their initial circumstances, this is the perfect journey for you. Their story serves as a testament to the transformative power of connection, proving that even in the most unlikely of millionaire stories, love can be the greatest reward. As their future unfolds, Emily and Liam learn that sometimes, the greatest things in life come from the most unexpected beginnings, making this millionaire story one that resonates with anyone who believes in second chances and the power of love. 1. Emily standing in a luxurious office hallway, looking startled as she faces Liam, who stands a few feet away with a stunned expression. She is wearing a sharp white business suit, her long brown hair flowing naturally, while Liam is dressed in a dark grey tailored suit, exuding authority but visibly shocked. Their eyes lock, and Emily takes a deep breath before speaking. "I'm carrying your child," her voice trembling but firm. Liam's face shows confusion, disbelief, and a mix of surprise and emotion. The hallway has gold accents, reflecting a high-class, upscale ambience. The tension between them is palpable, as the weight of her words hangs in the air, setting the stage for the intense emotional drama to unfold. 2. Emily working in a small, cozy art studio, sketching with focus and passion. She's sitting at a simple desk surrounded by her art supplies, her face slightly illuminated by the natural light streaming through the window. Emily wears casual clothes, a soft grey sweater, and dark jeans, her brown hair pulled back in a loose ponytail. Her eyes are focused on her artwork, but there is an underlying feeling of loneliness in the air as she pauses, staring at her phone briefly before continuing her sketch. The quiet surroundings contrast with her inner turmoil, reflecting her struggle to balance her personal dreams and unexpected new reality. 3. Liam seated at his high-rise office desk, surrounded by papers, a sleek laptop open in front of him, and the city skyline visible through the glass windows. His gaze is sharp and intense as he reviews documents, his face tense with concentration. Liam is dressed in a crisp, dark suit, his strong features highlighting his commanding presence. The office exudes wealth and control, yet there's a visible sense of emotional distance as he focuses solely on his work, appearing emotionally closed off. The soft glow of the desk lamp contrasts with the stark, unfeeling atmosphere of the office. 4. Emily and Liam meeting in a stylish restaurant, sitting at a small table by the window. Emily is visibly nervous, dressed in an elegant dress, her hair styled softly. Liam is more relaxed but still maintains a sense of aloofness in his posture, his sharp suit contrasting with the intimate, yet somewhat cold, ambience of the dinner. They're engaged in quiet conversation, their faces serious, with moments of lingering silence. The background has dim lighting, and the restaurant feels luxurious yet distant, reflecting the emotional gap between the two characters as they try to navigate their initial connection. 5. Liam and Emily sitting on a scenic rooftop at sunset, the city below them bathed in warm light. Liam is sitting next to Emily, his gaze soft but intense, and he's looking at her with a vulnerability he's never shown before. Emily is looking at him, her face lit by the soft glow of the setting sun. There's a moment of silence, filled with the weight of their emotions as Liam leans in, saying, "I care about you, Emily," with sincerity and an openness she hasn't seen before. Their body language is close, with Emily slightly leaning toward him, hinting at the beginning of a deeper connection. 6. Liam and Emily having a heated argument in the living room of Liam's penthouse. The atmosphere is tense and charged with emotion. Emily stands with her back turned to Liam, her posture rigid and defensive, while Liam stands near the couch, pacing. The room is dimly lit, with rain tapping against the windows, symbolizing the storm in their relationship. Both characters' faces show frustration and hurt, their emotions raw as they struggle to communicate their feelings. The space between them feels vast, even though they are physically close, representing the emotional distance that still needs to be bridged. 7. Liam and Emily on a balcony, the city lights stretching out below them, creating a warm, romantic backdrop. Liam is standing next to Emily, his hand reaching for hers as he speaks with conviction. Emily looks at him, her eyes filled with hope and understanding, her hand slowly reaching out to him. The night is calm, and there's a sense of renewal in the air. Liam's expression is one of relief, while Emily's face reflects the soft joy of reconciliation. Their body language shows a new level of openness, trust, and emotional honesty. 8. Emily and Liam together in their living room, surrounded by their child, sharing a quiet, joyful moment. Liam is sitting on the couch, holding their child in his arms, while Emily sits next to him, her face soft with affection as she watches them. The scene is filled with warmth and peace, the room bathed in soft light. There is an undeniable sense of togetherness, love, and family. Emily looks at Liam, their eyes meeting with a shared sense of happiness and fulfillment. The image captures the calm, contented atmosphere of their home, symbolizing the happiness they found together.